Church in Lexington, Virginia, and is looking forward to a full-time appointment to be determined in the coming weeks. Josh was happy to have his wife Jackie with him today. Josh's presentation is entitled Short-Term Mission Field, a Holistic Approach. Josh, welcome.
Thanks. Last year, I'm not sure how many of you all took the class with me, Mary Tisa Nation's evangelism class. And one of the presentations, or one of the projects that we had to work on during that class was practicing telling our story. And as I began to practice to tell my story, I wrote a sermon about it and ended up giving it to my churches, telling my story of how I came to faith. And I noticed that as I was talking about coming to faith, that I got really energized and I got really excited, and I was able to expand the most when I was talking about my experience with short-term missions. And so, a little bit about my background with short-term missions. In 1996, my father had invited a missionary family to the church to worship with us from South America, and I was able to, they had 3 children with them about my age at that time, and I got to really get to know them and share stories with one another, and it was my first experience of talking about missions, whether it be domestic or international. In 1998, my oldest brother then went off to ASP, which is Appalachian Service Project. And I remembered him coming back. I was quite jealous of him. He came back with all of these wonderful stories about the people that he met, and I really wanted that experience. And so in 2000 and 2001, I got to go in 2000 to Wise County, Virginia on my first trip to Appalachian Service Project. And then in 2001, I went to Hazard, Kentucky. I wanted to show you just a little clip from Appalachian Service Project.
There's not very many jobs in coal mines anymore.
There aren't jobs because the industries that have traditionally been in this area, like coal mining and logging, have gotten more and more mechanized.
If you're not a coal miner or train worker, I mean, there are no jobs. Coal trucks, I mean, that's basically it.
Without the economic base and the jobs being there just isn't the money to repair homes. So their homes are falling apart around the families that live in them.
Oh, I was scared to death. My floors were absolutely rotten. I told them once, I said I had carpet down, and I said, well, maybe if I go through the floor, the carpet would catch me before it hit the ground.
And when you're making choices between buying medicine or shoes for your children or putting food on the table, sometimes a hole in the floor just doesn't seem as important.
And I'm a single mom. You want to fix it, but you just can't afford it.
I didn't know what to do, and I knew the house was going to fall down. I was going to have to go to a nursing home.
And couldn't understand why all this was happening to me. I just give up hope.
It was at age 13 and 14 that I got to go on that trip to really begin to experience part of the poverty that's here in the United States, and right here in the back door, an hour or so away from, or 2 hours down the road. That's me pre-flight to China. I'd never been on an airplane before, and the first time I got on an airplane was going to China. In 2002, I took a 3-week mission trip to China. We went in as English teachers, snuck in. You're not allowed to have missionaries in China. And so there was a lot of different formations that happened during this trip that I got to reflect on in this project. And it was the first time that I really got to experience a true call. For the first time, I was just talking to Kevin about this the other day. God was talking to me in a concrete kind of way for the first time, and it was to me, not to my father, not to my mother, but to me, which began to expand my faith as I was able to. This is the first time that I stepped out. My parents didn't go on this trip with me. I was 15 going halfway across the world with another organization that was not included with my father's church. And so it really began to strengthen my faith. I got to experience God's providence as we snuck in Chinese English Bibles across the borders in our suitcases. And when we got to Fuzhou, the customs agency, for some reason, was closed that day. And we got to go right through the airport without having anyone check our bags at all. An identity as a minister. As I was teaching these students English, I know horrible for me to be teaching English, I feel sorry for them. But as I was teaching them English, the children began to ask me the questions. Not the leader of the group, not the pastor, but it was the first time that I was given the identity as minister. I had to come up with the answers. Well, not me, but I had to trust God to give me the answers and the wisdom to do so. And so it was the first time that I got to visualize myself as minister. And then discipleship, years later, it really began to become clear to me the strength of discipleship that the Chinese students had to have to make that decision. So what is mission? Mission is clothing the naked, feeding the hungry, setting at liberty those who are oppressed. Mission is reaching out to the hurting and loving compassion, offering what you have in service to others. Mission is joining with Christians around the world in global partnership and mutual cooperation to do the work of God. Mission is going into the entire world to take the gospel, baptizing in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Mission is continuing the restorative mission of God, the Missio Dei, of bringing God's creation back to the original form in which God called very good. How is this done? Through the Holy Spirit in response to God's grace through us.